That's insane.
What? What?
Imagine if you were doing whitewater kayaking and your boat had a trolling motor that can steer the boat, and so it could be taught profiles for the different rapids and the GPS location that you are at. And it could do all the steering, get you to the right portion of the river you're supposed to be on, do everything. You just do hip snapping to balance yourself, and you just sway your hips. But it does everything steering wise, and you just go through the rapid. So pretty much it would be automated kayaking. And this could help you to learn the lines, so that when you take it off,
Ooh, I like that.
when you take it off, you'll know like exactly where to go because you did it without it, without like knowing. But it's like teaching you your first couple times down, and then you'll like know what to do. And it could even have a voice that says, okay, we're staying to the right because of these features coming ahead. You see these rocks to the right, we're staying to the left of those. And there's a big hole in the center. Notice we're passing that now. Look to your left. And it could be telling you everything it's doing and why.
Wow.
And then you'll be like, it's like a river guide. Your boat is a river guide. Isn't that insane?
Yeah.
Which I've already discussed before, but I've kind of taken it to another level. I had this idea of a retracting trolling motor that would be mounted on the top of your boat right behind where you sit, and it would have a fairly flat profile. Maybe it'd be like this wide, this long, and this tall. And it could unfold itself, wrap around, and go under the boat, and then deploy, put out its fins, and then they'd start spinning, and you would start going forward. And so it would be a pretty sophisticated thing that could be wrapped up and put away on the top behind the boat to not cause any drag when you're not wanting to use it. And it should be lightweight and like a robotic arm that reaches around. And I thought that it should also have tentacles reaching out into the water in front of and beside it, so that if one of those gets hit, a sensor would detect that movement, which could be a potentiometer. It would detect that it got moved by bumping a rock. Like, it would only move if something substantial hit it. And that would be an early warning system that a rock is approaching the motor, the trolling motor, which would cause the trolling motor to either wrap up to the top of the boat again, out of the way so it doesn't hit the rock, or just fold up and take its fins that are spinning like this and just wrap them up and tuck them under the boat so that they just get scraped but not ripped to pieces, because they're just spinning wildly and smacking into a rock as the rock comes and crashes into it. So that could help to prevent it breaking by having tentacles just in the water that can feel that. And the tentacles can just be really small and then retractable. When the motor's not being used, it can go away with the motor. So they can actually just kind of spread out from the motor in different directions to feel in the water for collisions. So those are collision detection devices. Kind of like, is it a snail that walk around? They don't have eyes. They just have like two feelers that feel around. And if they hit something, then the snail knows it bumped into something. It's kind of the same principle as that. Okay, so I think some other bugs have that too. I'm not sure though. The next, so that's an improvement on that. But in addition to that, the tentacle system and the trolling motor, which we've already gone over and plan to make, and that's already been on the to-do list, is in conjunction with this Bluetooth earpiece that can tell you the line that you want to be taking through a whitewater rapid and guide you through it, and it knows all the major hazards in the app, and it also knows where you need to be at any given moment, and it has GPS coordinates to mark each breadcrumb. That app is one idea, and that's separate from this, but that app, all the knowledge that it has can then be applied to the kayak trolling motor system, where you can have a smart kayak. This smart kayak, armed with the knowledge of all the waypoints or breadcrumbs to take you through the correct line going down a rapid, its trolling motor could steer you by turning and steer your boat, and it could steer you down the proper lines. And I think that would be really cool because the boat could know by GPS coordinates exactly where to go. And that could be a great way to guide you down a rapid that you don't know that well, to teach you the lines. Or you do know it, but you just feel like being lazy, taking a break, and having the boat do it because you think that'd be fun. Having like a smart boat take you down the rapid. It's kind of like a self-driving car. So basically, I'm inventing a self-driving kayak. And a waypoint system and it knowing where all the major hazards are, etc., is one part of it. But for a self-driving kayak, another great feature really ought to be a camera mount on the front of the boat that is waterproof and is probably a little bit tall-ish, and a small camera that's on an antenna that can flex, that's not going to break off. Like if you mount a GoPro to the front of your boat and smack a rock, that GoPro's gone. But if you put a very small webcam on the front of the boat on a flexible antenna and it hits a rock, it would just bend back and then snap back to the position afterwards. So that wouldn't break because it's small, lightweight, and flexible. So, in fact, it could maybe have a second antenna in case of one snapped off. It'd still have one antenna that can hold it in place for redundancy of the mounting system. And this would enable the boat to be able to see. Maybe you could have another one that looks behind too, in case if you were going backwards for whatever reason. And it could have a fisheye view so they can see. So the cameras are aware of everything in your surroundings. And like a self-driving car, then it could make decisions based upon other factors besides just knowing the breadpoint way to go. For example, let's say the normal line is to go through a certain area, but somebody's boat is sitting in that area stuck in a hole. You're not going to crash into that person, right? So it would detour around that person, choosing another line intelligently to avoid colliding into another kayaker. It could also slow down if another kayaker is in front of you. It could also detect possibly a tree down that normally isn't there, but a tree's in the way, and it could reroute or get you into an eddy, or just stop you in place in the middle of a rapid and put on a reverse turning of its propeller to cause you to back away from a hazard coming ahead. And it would have enough power to back you away, whereas if you were paddling with just a paddle, you would probably have gone into that hazard because you wouldn't have enough force to stop yourself and then put yourself in reverse to avoid it. So it could prevent a disaster in that case if it were strong enough to actually put you in reverse while in fast moving water. So depending on its strength and power, it could really help you out a lot to avoid problems, to avoid injury, or avoid going into a hazard. And another really cool thing, this invention, this is my third invention, can help with the other inventions I've mentioned for a whitewater kayaking boat. But this particular invention could also be used completely standalone, and that is a self-rolling kayak itself. So, I'm wondering if a propeller system could deploy off the back of your kayak. So, on the stern top of the kayak, like where you lay back when you do a back deck roll, where your back would touch, and that area could be a slim profile, maybe this tall, this wide, this long, wrapped up propeller, just like my kayak deployable trolling motor idea. That trolling motor idea could also apply to having it mount in the same place, but instead of reaching under the boat to be a trolling motor, it could reach out to the side of the boat, turn the propeller that way, and be positioned around the center point of the boat, reaching out under your cockpit to one side. Or let's see, If I flipped upside down, yeah, it would need to be like right here. So it would actually be reaching out upward. If you're upside down, it would reach out upward and to one side. And it would spin, raising your boat to sideways, and then it would then dip deeper into the water and continue spinning until it flipped you upright. So this robotic arm propeller could actually roll your boat to the vertical position if you were to flip automatically. Now this could assist you in your normal roll. It could have its tentacles feel where your body is to avoid hitting you and move out of the way for you, but assist you in rolling. Or it could just roll completely, even if you were unconscious or just sitting there waiting for it to do it for you. It could just roll your boat up. I think that would be pretty cool. Or at least be able to brace you. Like if you're starting to tip, it could reach out and push you up to aid you in bracing your boat. That would be cool. Maybe not roll you completely, but at least like get you to a sideways position, and then you would roll the rest of the way with your body and a hip snap. But it would like make it easier and get you into the sideways position, able to breathe between roll attempts. That I think would be really cool. Maybe that would then end up just being an additional feature of the kayak trolling motor. That would be really good. Alright guys, so I just added even more to the concept. If you were to wet exit or leave the boat itself can still be a smart navigator of the river's waters. And so let's say you're kayaking down a whitewater river and you flip and you wet exit and you're freaking out and you're floating and you're trying not to drown and you're trying not to go into holes and you're just trying to stay alive, right? And you're freaking out, it's really scary. Your boat, which now has no occupant, but it still is intelligent, has the cameras, has everything. It's a self-driving car type of boat. This self-driving boat can stay near to you, and if you call it to your assistance, if you say, boat, get over here, boat, help me, the boat will come up to you, and you can grab onto it, and you can say, boat, take me to safety, and the boat will use its propeller and drive you to the shore. It will actually, or it will take you down the next rapid intelligently, guiding you down it safely, and then it will get to shore. It will ferry over to an eddy. And so the boat can rescue a swimmer that has wet exited. Their own boat rescued them, not another boater. Not another kayaker, but the smart boat itself rescues you, the swimmer. It becomes like your kayak partner that saves you. That's revolutionary. Now, let's say you're kayaking with a friend and he gets into a hazard, and if you were to paddle into that same hazard to try to rescue him, you'd be putting yourself in harm's way. So instead, you're hoping to get to shore and maybe throw a rope, and if they're paying attention, that rope gets to them, and if not, you gotta reel it back in and try again and hope they don't drown in the meantime, and because they're stuck in a hole or whatever. Let's say instead of just dragging your boat to shore, you hop out of your boat and you can still try to your rope rescue, but meanwhile, you can instruct your boat to go try to save that guy. And your boat, without you in it, would paddle itself to the person in harm's way and present its bow or stern loop to that swimmer who's stuck and getting recirculated in a hole or whatever. It would paddle into the base of that waterfall or the base of that hole and present itself to the swimmer. The swimmer could then grab onto it, and the boat would then pull them out of that hole or out of the base of that waterfall and pull them to shore into safety. So the boat itself could rescue your kayaking partner while you can still do all of your normal stuff of trying to rope rescue and whatever, which is 50-50, may not work. Your boat can be attempting the rescue at the same time. And the advantage to this is it doesn't put an additional paddler in harm's way. It actually allows you to stay out of harm's way while your boat takes the risk. And the boat is just a boat, whereas this is a human's life on the line. So that could actually save lives. So I really like that. The smart boat can take voice or vocal commands. And I think it would be cool, although it'd be riskier, if you cannot get a paddling partner and you are going to paddle alone anyways, which is not recommended, but some people do paddle alone. You're also supposed to not paddle well beyond your skills ever, but you're supposed to paddle even way easier stuff if you're alone, which also some people don't do. So, given all of that, if you couldn't get a paddling partner and you're choosing to take on the risk, you would be possibly a lot better off paddling alone if you've got a smart boat that you're in that could possibly rescue you in the event that you swam. So it would be kind of like having a paddling partner in that if you were paddling alone and you swam, it's not like, well, my boat's gone, because it's just going to keep floating for miles or whatever until it might get stuck somewhere. And then you hope you can get to shore. Instead, you wet exit, your boat stays near you and paddles up to you if you call for it and helps rescue you. So, in many regards, depending on the execution of this could end up actually being superior at rescuing you, possibly by far, than an actual human partner in many circumstances, like a flush drowning situation where you're just going down the river and your partner can't keep up, or he had to get to shore for whatever reason, he's out of breath, he can't keep up with you floating down the river, whatever it is. Your boat could be faster and superior at paddling than a partner, theoretically. I still would want kayaking partners, but if you just can't get somebody that day, or for whatever reason, it's just not, having a paddling partner is not in the works, or you choose for whatever exception, whatever reason, whatever, you just chose not to have a paddling partner that day, you kind of have a paddling partner to some extent, possibly better than even a real human partner, in the form of this robot. So your boat is like a robot boat. I think that's awesome. That's so cool, man. So now, tied into that, with all this data that this app has, you can then feed that into my other invention, which is a self-driving kayak. It will have cameras on front and back, and it will be just like a self-driving car, and it will have a propeller that can steer you, and a rudder that can steer you, and it can actually take you down rapids. And it can also have intelligent responses if somebody's ahead of you to back away to a safe distance. If a raft's coming, it can avoid it. It will be able to see in front of you and behind you and make real-time decisions based on all the changing factors that occur on a whitewater river. Besides just the static normal lines, there might be other things to consider, like a tree just fell down ahead of you. What do you do? Or a tree is down that's normally not there. It can't take you down the normal line. What if the whole river's blocked? It needs to be able to see that and get you to the shore. So it would be able to take you down if you're injured and you can't take yourself down. This would be a backup. It'd be able to get you safely down the river. Theoretically, it might make a mistake too. So there's always a risk. You can't say this thing will keep you safe. It might screw up too. It's a hard sport. But it's going to make you a lot safer if you broke your arm and you can't hike out, or you broke your arm and your leg or whatever, you're paralyzed. It could possibly get you to shore or save you. But let's not focus on disclaimers. Let's just focus on what it hopefully would be able to do in theory. And so anyways, yes, it'd be a self-driving boat, and it would take you down the river. And that would be cool, even if you just wanted to experience that, having a boat take you while you enjoy the scenery and learn, and the boat can talk to you too, like, okay, I'm doing this, and this is why, this is the line here, here's the hole on the left you want to avoid. It could be like a river guide telling you all about the rapids as you're going through them, into your Bluetooth earpiece, so you can hear it really well. Even if you're underwater, you can hear it instructing you. And then you might want to use it if you're just really tired, you're worn out, you had something scary happen, your adrenaline, and you're fatigued, and you just want to save energy. It could take you down some easy rapids that you're bored of, and you're just wanting to do manually some of your most enjoyable rapids, and through the easy ones you just want to relax and look around or talk to somebody. So there are lots of variants of when you would want it to take over fully or when you would want it to do more. And then finally, okay, here's the really cool part. Um, the boat as a rescuer tool. So if you flipped and wet exited, normally you try to hold on to your paddle because you don't want to lose it, but a lot of times people let go of that even. And their paddle's gone, their boat's gone. They float down the river. Half the time people don't even find your paddle, but they might see it floating in the water if it doesn't get stuck on something underwater on the way. And your boat takes off, and it either is way behind you stuck somewhere or way ahead stuck somewhere. And you might swim to shore or be rescued and brought to shore, and now you have to walk a long way to get to where somebody else rescued your boat way down the river. Well, under this, if you wet exited, your boat could rescue itself, bringing itself to shore. Or it could just stay with its normal occupant that wet exited. It could just stay either ahead of you or upstream of you, maybe 20, 30 feet a safe distance. Just kind of staying near you, and when you get over to shore, it will follow you to shore, and it will eddy out right where you eddied out. Whether you swam into an eddy or were rescued into an eddy, it would eddy with you. So nobody would have to go after your boat. Your boat would basically safely hang out in your vicinity and get itself to shore without the need for other people to go rescue the boat. So that would make it more convenient for the other group members, especially if you were just paddling with one partner. He could always focus on saving you, and your boat would save itself.
That sounds good.
So that would be really convenient. Now, it comes to... Baby, please look at me, and this is important to me. The other thing is, let's say you were freaked out and your partner wasn't nearby, or he is messed up too and he's swimming too, or whatever. You could call to your boat, "Boat, come here. Boat, help me." And the boat will then paddle up to you and let you grab on, and then say, "Boat, take me to shore," and the boat can swim you to shore. So that's a whole nother level. Or you can try to re-enter the cockpit and get back in while going down the rapid. If it came up to you, you could jump back in. Or you could lay on the top and hold on the cockpit, and the propeller will then steer you through the rapids and steer you to shore as soon as possible. So you'd just be able to ride it like laying down, just letting it take you to safety.
Sounds good, baby.
I've been able to do that after wet exiting. I've climbed onto the top of my boat, laid my stomach across the cockpit and held on, and I used my feet to kind of kick and steer a little bit, but it was hard to really maneuver myself very much because I didn't have my paddle or my paddle was just held in my hand. I couldn't really paddle because I wasn't sitting down stable in the boat. I was just holding on with both hands. So with this, you would be able to hold on both hands, you'd be out of the water, able to breathe and everything, able to crash into rocks because you're in a boat that would take the beating. And now with the propeller able to steer you intelligently to shore, you would be like good to go, almost as good as had you not wet exited. It could just take you into the next eddy. So that would be amazing for rescuing you. It would be like a kayak partner. If you wet exited and swam, you wouldn't be on your own. Your boat could come save you. That's insane for a boat to be a rescuer. And then I took it to the next level. I thought, okay, what would happen if your partner swam? Normally, if your partner swam and they got stuck in a hole or stuck at the base of a waterfall, you try to paddle to shore, immediately get up, get your rope, run to them, try to get their attention, throw the rope to them, and pull them out. Well, that sometimes takes a long time. Sometimes they miss the rope. Sometimes you throw it poorly, etc. And your boat is an extra hassle because your boat you have to drag onto shore before you can even go try to rescue the person. That's wasting precious time. What if you paddled to shore, jumped out of the boat, and told the boat, "Boat, go try to rescue that guy." The boat sees where you're pointing, sees the person swimming, and the boat takes off, and it presents its grab loop to that person stuck in a hole or stuck in the waterfall, and that person can grab on and the boat will pull them out.
Well, it sounds like
So the boat can be like an independent rescuing tool. While you're still trying to do your rope throw rescue, the boat can give the swimmer another option to try to rescue them.
Pretty cool, but it seems like it's just totally taking away the point of the sport.
No, the point of the sport is subjective.
See, as a teaching
Some
game,
people, like I said, you can still enjoy everything. You can shut it off and just use it in emergencies. You can use it just when you want to take a break. You can use it just when you want to sightsee. You can use it only when you're on a rapid you don't think is that interesting and you just don't feel like paddling that one. You could use it only when you're injured. You could use it only when you're out of shape. You can use it only when you're paddling with a paddling partner who's way too fast and they keep leaving you behind and you're trying to keep up with them. There are so many situations where it can just be another tool to help you without taking away from you being able to do everything manually that you feel like. That's like saying a self-driving car takes away the joy and the purpose of driving your own car. No, you don't have to use the self-driving mode. It's just like cruise control. You barely ever use it, but sometimes you might want to use cruise control for whatever reason. So it's the same thing. It's just a tool in your arsenal that is optional, but it's there when you want it. You know what else is cool is, let's say you wanted to test the boat. Let's say you taught it everything and the boat is theoretically equipped to go down a rapid. But let's say you're like, I don't know if this boat actually knows the lines. I want to review it, give it a test run. So you can get out into an eddy, stand up, and follow your boat with your drone and watch it say, okay, boat, go down this rapid. Let's see if you can do it. And the boat will go without you down the rapid, expertly maneuvering it to demonstrate its prowess in that rapid. And then you can have the boat maybe attain and go back up the river on its own and swim itself back to you. Or you could try to walk down to it and carry it back up. But I think it'd be cool if the boat was powerful enough to actually ride back upriver back to you after proving itself.
How are you going to do any of this?
What?
How are you going to do any of this?
How? Well, you first need to design the robotic propeller arm in software and then 3D print it and fabricate it. And you need to create the artificial intelligence software and the integration and the circuit boards and the power supply and the battery supply and the solar panels to charge the batteries as you're going down the river. And you need to create... Oh wow, I just had another idea. You could put a small turbine underneath your boat, so as you're going down the river normally, it could actually be charging the battery using water turbine technology, just like a hydroelectric dam turbine power generators do. Because you're in a whitewater rapid, you're actually able to harness the power of the river to recharge the batteries. So that's pretty cool. Not only could you have solar power on the top of your kayak, you can also leave the kayak in slow moving water, anchor it to a rock or a tree or something so that it's in moving water, and now you have a hydroelectric dam that could charge the batteries like overnight or whatever if you're doing a long trip and you have only so much battery power. Or you just ran out and you didn't charge it before you went. This would be a way to charge it. I love it, man. Hey, no, I'm not forcing anyone to get it, but if you want to... I mean, let's say you don't want to be lazy. You want to have exercise, blah, blah, blah. I get it, okay? But let's say you're going with a very impatient paddler who's in amazing kayak shape, and he kayaks every weekend. And he exhausts you, and you're so sore, but you want to kayak all 3 days. And you know if you try to keep up with him, you're not going to be able to do it for day after day. He's in such great shape. This guy's a super athlete. And you just kayak 5 or 6 times a year. This would close that gap. If you had this, you would be able to keep up with him. Okay, you can still get fit. You can aid the boat. You can paddle yourself, and this will just help you double your speed to keep up with him. You don't have to be lazy about it. But it takes time to build up your stamina, to lose weight, to build up your paddling muscles. And maybe you're a successful entrepreneur, you're a successful businessman, or you can't afford to go on as many trips as that guy. And he has no life, so you have no hope of ever keeping up with him. So there are many things. Or you might have disabilities or a weak shoulder. Whatever it is, this thing would close the gap and make it pleasant for both of you to keep up and stay with each other. I'm not saying you should be lazy out there or whatever. I'm just saying this will enable you to stay within your physical limits, but then enhance yourself. So you can hang with the big dogs, even if you're not physically as
Well, you're
in
far
shape
away
as
from this
them.
project, so.
What?
So you're far from this project, so you should just put the outline and then move on for the rest of your projects right
Yeah, I know. I'm not starting it right now. I'm adding it to my to-do list. This might be more practical use of my time than even my self-driving car plans. Because a self-driving car, there's already a lot of people doing it. The stakes are super high and there's already a lot of competition. And it's such high speeds and instant death in any accident. Whereas with just kayaking, it's recreational and people are already going into it knowing there's a lot of risk and they take personal responsibility more than a driver who, if a driver sits in a self-driving car, they're going to be very mad if anything happens because they consider a car by a big company to be something totally safe or whatever. The expectations are higher. Whereas with this, it's like use this at your own risk. It's just for a sport that's already dangerous. I don't know. I think the expectations would be different. But obviously, disclaimers out the wall would have to be in place because in no way does this make the sport safe, but it could theoretically make it safer, and it's totally up to you
now.
and
Can I
your.
give you this ketchup? Baby, I can't listen anymore. Can you give me half an hour?
Hey, so you like it?
Yes. I love it.
Good. I mean, I personally would love to use this stuff for my own enjoyment. Baby, can you listen to this? You said 5 minutes, it's been more.
No, it hasn't, baby.
Yeah, it has. It's been like 10, 15 minutes.
It hasn't at all.
Okay, so I realized some other stuff. This is playing off what I said earlier about, let's say you don't really trust the boat or you just want to make sure before you go down it, you're kind of worried. So you send the boat down a rapid on its own and you watch it from shore to make sure that it does the rapid the way you want or the way that you think is appropriate, and you make sure it makes it down safely. You could also follow it with the drone to watch exactly what it does to see if you feel the pathing needs to be adjusted or tweaked a little bit, especially if you were using the boat for the first time and you wanted to verify it before you sit in the boat and go down the rapids. You want to see what path that it does on its own. So you're testing, basically, before you have it take you down. And then the boat swims itself back to where you are, attaining upriver through the rapid in reverse to get back to you. Or you carry it part ways down parts that it can't attain, like a waterfall, and then it does the rest by attainment, and it just follows you as you walk back to the start. So anyways, the boat could help on getting itself back. Taking off that, I realized, wait, what if while you and your whole group are scouting a rapid, you tell your boat to do it, and you can have remote control on your phone or whatever to send the boat the command to go, and then you and your group watch the boat go down the rapid together, and the boat basically shows everyone the right line. Because a lot of times when you go out to scout, you wait for another group to go by so you can see what they do. This is the same principle, but you'd have basically, instead of having the best member of your group go do the rapid by themselves to show everyone else, you'd have the robotic boat do the rapid. So that's pretty cool. And then I realized something else. What if you had a robotic boat lead the way while you went down the rapids? So let's say me and you are kayaking in the tandem. My whitewater boat could be the robotic boat, and it leads us down rapids, and we follow it. That would be kind of cool to watch it, and nobody's even in it. It's just a robot boat that leads the way. And let's say me and my dad are not sure, we're kind of scared our first time down a river, maybe you're with us, maybe you're not, and we have this robot boat as our river guide that leads the way and we follow it.
Yeah, I think it's pretty cool, baby. You're saying it in 5 different ways. I think it's cool.
Okay, but in one case I said it's just leading the way while we scout so we can watch. Another, I'm saying it's leading the way while we're actually going down the river. It could do both.
Yeah.
So that we're now also being able to follow while we're in the water, which is different from scouting. So we can see like where to go while we're actually in it.
Yeah.
And then another thing with that that came to me is, what if that actually is really, really smart to have this robotic boat, even if you didn't want a robotic boat yourself, you brought it with to do rescues in the event anybody in the group swam. It would swim up and either rescue their boat. You could instruct it, robot boat, get that guy's boat, and it could go after the boat and get it to shore. Or you'd say, robot boat, rescue that swimmer, and the robot boat would ride up to the swimmer and they can grab on and it would paddle them to shore. So I think that would be really excellent. Not only can it lead the group, but it can also rescue the group members so that, yeah, they would just have more tools in the event anything went wrong with like a beginner group or whatever. And then I took it even further. What another example would be, let's say I wanted to go alone. I couldn't find a partner. My partner canceled that day, but I still want to paddle. Maybe instead of just trying to find a stranger, I would go in a robot boat and I'd feel safer because if I swam, it could rescue me. Or I would go in a robot boat and have another robot boat I'm with, and both of those robot boats could help rescue me, which offers redundancy. I could grab on two boats and have them pull me, which is even stronger than one. And be following one robot boat while I'm doing manual mode for a while. If I wanted to, I'd be able to follow its lines. I mean, it's just all these tools. But having two robot boats would make me feel safer if I was by myself than one. Because if I swam or anything went wrong, I would have two boats double the chance of one of the boats being able to rescue me. And they could help each other rescue me collaboratively. That would be, I'm picturing now, if I was standing in the cockpit of both robot boats and just going down the rapids standing up, just with my arms crossed. Like the Green Lantern. And the boats just are taking me down the rapid. I'm just like this, looking around smiling. And they're just carrying me perfectly down a rapid while I stand up, not doing anything. That would be insane. But baby, please stop. You realize if I had this, I could kayak more because I wouldn't get tired as easily, so I could do more days without being sore. Please stop. And I could do it even if I didn't have paddling partners that day. I could do it on a weekday or something. After everyone went home, I could be out there still getting exercise, getting sun by myself, because I don't need to wait till I can schedule some guy to be with me. I could just go out there and do 2 weeks straight every day, being out there teaching it, going to different rivers, getting tons of sun, tons of exercise, hiking, all this stuff. It would extend what I could do. I couldn't physically do that. Like, I would do one day, be exhausted, have to take a day off. Please, even when I was in insane shape, I would be exhausted because of fear and adrenaline. I would still be sore and exhausted because it's new muscles you're not used to. All of those reasons. No matter what, your first weekend, you're going to be super sore no matter who you are if you took a whole off season. Whereas this would enable you to do a whole week your first weekend because you would paddle when you could and rest when you could and have it carry some of the loads you could do non-stop. So don't just think of negative, because this can really extend the amount of interaction with the sport you can do.